Hi, it's Alicia, and for this Mother's Day video, I'm going to talk about all the books that I've recommended to my mother that she has not read. I'm making this video Saturday night after a day doing a readathon. So one, it's dark outside, so I hope the lighting won't be too bad. And two, if you're wondering why I am extra red, it's because I was reading in the sun, and just a little bit of sun brings out my inner lobster. So if that's distracting, I apologize. But I'm here to talk about these books because recently I've been seeing everything advertising for Mother's Day, and because most of the people I follow on social media are book distributors and book bloggers, they're always talking about books to give to your mother for Mother's Day or books to share with your mother on Mother's Day. And I always keep thinking, like, but what if your mother and you just have not the similar taste in books at all? Or if you're a reader and your mom is just like, sometimes, which is what my mom is like. I think in my intro I said I would talk about all of them, but that's not true because I'm sure I have told her that there's a book that she should read offhand in several occasions that she just didn't because she doesn't read, and it drives me insane. So the books that my mom reads are romances, essentially. She denies that they are romances. She says that they're just stories of people, and to me, I just think they're really just the romances, but sometimes there's a little bit more plot than just straight up romance. So I'll give her that. Sometimes there's plot, but in general, I just think they're romances. And again, we fight about this all the time. But that's just something to keep in mind. So some of these books have more of a love undertone, or not even like an undertone, just like a straight up romance, but you know, there's kind of some other stuff going on, so just keep that in mind. But this first one does not. The first one is going to be a shock, and there's some people that might not understand and just give up on this video right away because they just won't understand how this is at all possible, but it is. And that is the Harry Potter series. I'm holding up book 4, which is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, because I'm pretty sure this is the book that my mom stopped reading at. She read the first 3, and then when the 4th one came out, she said she didn't remember the 3rd one, and instead of reading the 3rd one, which is not that long, she just kind of gave up on the whole series. Now she loves the movies, and I'm always telling her that maybe she should read the books, because if she loves the movies, then she'll probably love the books. But she hasn't. So this, for a long time growing up, was a very big contention between us, and I think still is. Anytime Harry Potter is brought up, I beg her to try and read the series again, and she just won't. She has no interest, and she's very, to her, anything that's written for children or young adults is too young for her, so she won't even attempt it, even though there are good stories. And that's the same thing for the Hunger Games. She loved the movies, and I said that maybe she should try reading the books, and she didn't. And I mean, lots of more movies. These are just the children's ones, I guess, that she just refuses to read. So I don't know what else to say about this one. It's heartbreaking, I know, but I thought I'd rip the Band-Aid off in the beginning, and this is the first book I remember recommending to her that she didn't follow through with. So the next book I recommended to her, and I also was very adamant about this book, I thought it was perfect for her, was One Day by David Nicholls. Now, some of you might remember that years ago a movie came out with Anne Hathaway and Jim Sturgis that made this movie, and the book follows Dexter and Emma on one day of their lives over, oh my god, I don't even remember how many years that was. But I really, really liked it when I read it. I was in grade 11 or 12. So if you read this book and you're like, Alicia, it's a terrible book. You should not recommend that to anybody. I will argue that I was a teenager, and I'm pretty sure my reading styles have changed because when I was a teenager, Twilight was my life, and I don't even think I could make it through under a quarter of that book now. So just understand that maybe I'm not the best recommendations of books that I've read in high school, but I really did think that this was a book that my mom would love because it is a love story. It is, but I just thought it was a well-written love story. It just actually felt like the author was trying to be original as opposed to recycling love scenes, which, by the way, has been done. I have read some of those romance novels when I was a kid, and the author will just reuse the same sex scene. Like, come on, if you seriously run out of ways to write about sex, I just dropped a book on the floor. That's one day. She didn't read it. She had this one for a number of years, and I think in one of our times moving, I stole it back from her because I realized she was never going to read it. It was really kind of upsetting because I really wanted her to read it, but she didn't. I think she read one page, and that was it for her. And I don't even think there was a legitimate reason. She just stopped. Just didn't want to, didn't really feel like reading, which is something I don't understand, but apparently it happens. I would always go to work with my parents. It was just one of those things that I did, so I knew everyone that they worked with, and because they both work in theater, I knew and met a lot of actors and directors and so forth, and it was great. But in my first year of university, where I moved away up to Thunder Bay, my mom worked with a writer that I wanted to meet so badly, and I respected so much, and she didn't know anything that he'd written, and that is Ondaatje. And I asked her to read this, which is the collected works of Billy the Kid, and it's really small. It's a compilation of poems and prose, and it's really beautiful, and I really loved. And we read this in school in grade 12 class. You can see, like, I have notes in it. They're pencils, so don't like attack me, but I did get it for school, so there's that. But so when she was going to work with him, I thought she should know some of his work, know what he talks about, what he does, and she didn't. The only thing she knew about Ondaatje was that he wrote The English Patient. And the only thing she knew about The English Patient was the Seinfeld episode where they talk about the movie The English Patient. So she really had no context, and I begged her to read this, to just know a little bit about Ondaatje's work. And again, it's not long, especially because it's poetry and just short prose, so it kind of just goes faster, but this is really beautiful, and I will stand by that, even though it's been a while since I've read it. I read a poem in my last year and my last year of university of his for a class, and it's one that's always stuck with me, and it's about a chicken pulling a vein out of someone's neck, and just the imagery of it was disgusting and has always stuck with me. But I read that poem not long ago, and it still resonated with me, so I'm still standing by this book, other than one day, which I am slightly hesitant about. I still stand by this book, and was just a disappointment when she did not want to read it. So there's only one more novel that I have recommended to my mother that I have read that I thought she should read, and that is Water for Elephants by Sara Gruen. I'm sure most of you have read this. I know it was very popular when it came out, and I know it was more popular when it was made into a movie starring Robert Pattinson and Reese Witherspoon. And I really did like the movie, and I really liked the book when it came out. And it's, again, one of those books that is mainly a romance, but there are other aspects in it, which is important. If you haven't read it, it's about a younger boy, not like young, I think he's probably in his early 20s, I forget his age, I'm sorry, who joins a circus at a veterinarian and falls in love with one of the women who rides the elephants, and I think it's really beautiful. Again, I haven't read this. I think it was the summer before my second year of university when I read this one. But I do remember really loving it, and I really love the setting. There's something about old circuses that I really love, and there's something really romantic about them. Despite the fact that when you learn about old circuses, you're like, wow, those were terrible to people and animals and everything. But there is still this romanticism around it that I think is really hard to get away from. So this book really played into it, and not only added to the romance of it in areas, but also kind of showed the awfulness of circuses towards people and to the treatment of animals. So I really thought this kind of played into her genre of books, and that it's something that she would probably really love. But as you've guessed, she did not read it. So for the last book I'm going to talk about, I will admit I did not read it. It was Christmas a few years ago, and I wanted to make a tour survival kit for my mom for Christmas. She tours a lot with work, and she lives out of hotel rooms, so I thought it would be cute to give her just some stuff to make hotel rooms feel like home. So I got her one of those plants that grow out of a wood box and all this other stuff, and I thought a book really has to go with it. Like, not having a book doesn't work. So I came across the Rosie Project. And although I hadn't read it, I heard great things about it, and I read the flap, and it said, like, I just thought it sounded like something she would like. And I thought that maybe she would give it a try because it's popular and romancy, and that she might enjoy it. So I bought it with my hard student-earned money, and it has been sitting in, like, her office with all of her papers just kind of crammed into a organizer, and has not read it. And she's always talking about, oh, I really, really wish that I had a book. Oh, I really need a book to read, because she's going on tour or whatever. And I'm always pointing out, like, I gave you a book. You've had a book just sitting there for so long, and she has not read it. I don't even think she's tried to read it. So, I mean, I could have just bought myself a book. I feel like I need to read that book. I don't even know if it's something I would like to read, but I feel like I should read it just because I feel bad for it, just sitting all lonely. Like, it's not even on a bookshelf. My parents do own bookshelves, and it's not on a bookshelf. It's just jammed in with papers. The poor book. It's really sad. It's so sad. Needless to say, my mom only likes books by 3 authors, and one of them we do agree on, and that's Jodi Picoult. And I do love Jodi Picoult. I think she's beautiful, and she's an intelligent writer and very well researched her subjects. I know sometimes you can read books, you're like, you have no idea what this thing you're talking about is. So I will stand by that. Jodi Picoult is an amazing writer. So I understand my mom's love for her, but there's some others that I don't feel like just bashing right now, but are not. They recycle sex scenes, so I mean, at least try and rewrite your sex scenes. So, but she also really loves cookbooks. Now I should point out that she does not cook from these cookbooks, but she likes to have them, and she's always asking for cookbooks, and I always say no, because there's too much money to spend on something that you're just gonna flip through. And while, I mean, technically you flip through books, I just feel like cookbooks are meant to be cooked with, and it's just, anyway. But for Mother's Day this year, despite the fact that stores keep telling me to buy my mother books, I picked up a free cookbook at my work for her. So it did not cost me anything, and she can find new ways to cook with chocolate. And we'll also make sure that she has something else, because she's crazy like that and she likes gifts. So this is what I'm doing for Mother's Day, as well as continuing reading my books, which she will not like, but that's okay. So that's my video for today. I hope everyone is having a great Mother's Day and making sure that their mothers or maternal figures are people that just raise them with love, make sure they know how important they are and loved they are. So have a fantastic day. Enjoy reading together on this fine Sunday, and I will talk to you later. Bye.